My name's Cynthia Croker. I grew up in a place called Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Oh, my name's James Croker. I grew up on the edge of the outback. I was about 40, 50 miles out of Canberra, which is the capital of Australia.
My name's Jack Langenhausen. Born in Scarborough, and when I was about 4 or 5, we moved to Uxbridge, Ontario, on a small hobby farm.
I'm one of the artistic directors of MOTUS O Dance Theatre.
I'm a co-artistic director of MOTUS O Dance Theatre. I also still perform, and I'm the costume designer.
No, it's a 7-day-a-week job, actually. There's no doubt about it. If you want to be sort of a co-artistic director and manage the company, you work around the clock. There's no two ways about it.
Connecting with the arts community here in Stouffville has been key.
We usually do some kind of community involvement to provide some integration.
For us, art that doesn't interact with community or society, I think is questionable. For us.
I got introduced to dance when I was very young. My parents were actually fraught with terror because I was so shy. My mother thought, well, what are we going to do? We have to help this kid somehow. So they thought, well, if she had to get up in front of people and perform, maybe one day she'd get over it.
My father had a sheep station there, and I grew up basically, I don't know, what was my life? My life was guns, sheep, more guns.
I was a big social dancer in high school when disco was in, so I hung out at the disco clubs all the time, and that was great fun. So there was a natural inclination to dance. I mean, I really enjoyed it.
So I headed off to Los Angeles in the fall of '79, and it was there I worked with Youth with a Mission, and it was there that I found out they had a school of the performing arts in Canada.
Beautiful. That was best yet.
Anyway, a Canadian mime company came over to Australia touring, and I was recommended to work with them, so I did actually go with them, and they just said, oh wow, you have a lot of talent, raw talent, why don't you come to Canada to study? Well, okay, so I thought I'd come to Canada.
So I started connecting with people on campus who had been dancers, and we just started doing fun stuff, at their pub nights and stuff like that.
When I came to Canada, I started doing movement, and I fell into Laban, and I went and studied mime, and I did a lot of other type of training, and then I got really excited about the whole idea of communicating through movement, how movement could be used to sway people, to bring out emotions, things like that.
So off I went. April Fool's Day was the first day of the school in 1980 when I came to Canada. And the first day I laid my eyes on this crazy Australian who situated himself in the front of the classroom so you could look at everybody. And I thought, wow, look at that guy. And the rest is history.
That summer, a neighbor asked me to go see a show at the University of Waterloo, which I did, and that's where I met James and Cynthia. It was the organization that they were working with in Cambridge, and that's how we connected initially. So I went to that school after I graduated.
I asked him, I go, well, why did you come all the way to Canada from Australia? He goes, well, I'm going to take over this school and run it. I go, wow, have you told the guy who's running the school? Well, no. So that was pretty funny, but in fact that's what we did. We got married, took over that school and ran it for 10 years.
I was actually the dean or the principal of the school, and there was more and more complaints coming about how it was becoming more autocratic, how there was this feeling like creativity had to serve a certain mandate or pre-prescribed mandate. And I was finding myself way back, flipping back to when I was a youngster, this whole idea that I wanted to be different. And here I was in an institute where I had to be political.
And that's when we started to integrate a lot more than just, jazz, ballroom, tap, all the sort of the show dances. That's where we became much more theater and mime and storytelling and narrative. And so that's where we were merging all. So everything now is coming to interconnection now. And I love that.
It was really a learning time and a preparing time for creating what we do now, creating productions, because that was the main crux of the school, and that's where again we met Jack.
When I met up with Jack and of course Cynthia, my wife, we said, well, why don't we break away and start our own company, MOTUS O Dance Theatre, what became MOTUS O. And so there was a few of us, a handful, who said, yeah, let's do this. And we broke away. And looking back, I think we were really quite frightened. We were in our late 20s, we were breaking away, I had 3 kids. So there was a lot at stake.
So in order for the vision to really take off, we felt we needed to lead Youth with a Mission, and that's when we moved to Stouffville, outside of Toronto, so that we could be near Toronto, because we just felt that was the smartest place to eventually find other dancers and be closer to a dance community.
It was a conscious decision not to live downtown Toronto because we wanted to find our own voice. We thought we'd be heavily influenced if we were in the downtown scene, the Toronto scene. And we knew we weren't like that. They have brilliant companies, modern companies and ballet companies in Toronto. They didn't need any more. So this was a good time for us to find. And we knew also we were very eclectic in our approach. We all come from very different backgrounds, and so we knew by these eclectic backgrounds we would have something different to offer.
When we started this, we thought we were smart enough to know that it's good to get advice. Just ask people, what the hell did you do, or what did you think you would do differently? So we spoke to a gentleman at the Ryerson University who was running the dance department at the time. He says, go look at the people that you admire in your field and see if that's the lifestyle you want to live in 20 years. And there were other circumstances by why we moved to Stouffville, but in my mind that was one of the major ones, is that a lot of the people we admired were still, after 20 years or 30 years in the industry, were still living hand to mouth. And we just thought, well, we don't want to do that.
Yeah, Stouffville, we basically, both James and Jack got a job in Markham, so we drew a 45-minute radius around Markham and thought, well, started looking for a house in our price range.
James, Cynthia, and myself, when we met, I had the big idea, the big financial plan was to, the recession was creeping in. I thought, oh, well, why don't we all just buy a house together?
We moved into Stouffville, we took a mortgage, and we thought, well, in 20 years, we want to have paid off the house. We want that type of security. We want, whatever comes with a day job as far as dental, insurances, things like that. Plus, with Cindy and I, we wanted a family. So kids are expensive, so that takes a certain security.
And we found this 4-bedroom house in Stouffville because Jack was going to live with us, and he said, I love you guys, but I really don't want to bunk up with your kids. So yeah, of course. So we moved in, and that caused a bit of a stir.
Yeah, well, it's taken a while to work it out. I think part of it is that all of us had a natural desire to live in a community, or to live in communal living. That is a lot easier to talk about than to actually live.
Well, because you did have to reevaluate, is this worth it? Like, you like the fridge a lot cleaner than I like it, and or whatever it was. But we knew we needed each other to do it, how we wanted to do it. And so we each had something to bring to the pie.
We all worked full-time jobs, 5 days a week, and then we took one evening and one Saturday for several years, and that's what we were committed to.
And eventually we moved it up to 2 days and one night a week. And every week for 2 years, that's what we did. We rehearsed just on those days.
And the funny thing was, so much of the company grew within our household, doing dishes. That was our meeting time. It was really funny. It was just really it was always on the fly. Vacuuming, dusting. Here we are. Oh, what about? And yeah, and I think we should. And that's how it was. It was just. It wasn't. We didn't have set meetings. It was just always on the go as part of our daily life. It wasn't a separate life. Very integrated.
In any community or any collaborative endeavor, everyone needs to know that they're contributing in some valuable way that the other partners can't contribute. And Cindy in costumes, Jack, his ability to organize, and he has that wonderful left-right brain thing going all the time. Me and well, whatever. I can contribute, I'm sure, in lots of ways. But again, it wasn't a conscious thing, but in reality, that has been part of the success. Because without that, without the business sense, there is nothing. It's just good ideas.
I think most mothers go through a guilt complex. You don't think you ever do quite enough for your kids, and it seemed like, especially in the beginning, all the time and extra time, because we had to fit it around everything else, went into this dream called MOTUS O.
I was embarrassed the first few years, you know, embarrassed, I guess is too strong. No, embarrassed is a good word. Is that, oh, you know, here I'm an artist and I can't do my art full time, so I'm not good enough. You know, so I have to work at a truck company. You know, so there was that type of struggle, like, you know, it's like, you know, am I an artist, am I a welder, am I this, am I that?
It's been healthy for us to have one foot in and one foot out of the performing world. Because I think for myself, I think you can get so caught up in making works that are tricks, and, you know, it's like, how can we, I don't know, you just don't have as much substance to bring in from your other world.
But I think because of the perseverance over the years, I realized that actually has informed my art, because it's given that sense of security. It's given that, how do I relate to people outside of me dressed like a clown? So if I really understand who I am, then I can relate to welders, I can relate to sheep shearers, I can relate to that, because they're just human interaction. So I think our work and day jobs actually has paid off as far as continuing that idea of community and how to communicate to people. Interesting, I find the people I shear for, who are mostly, you know, Italians or Germans or farmers in general, they're much more open to me being a dancer than my dance friends who know that I'm a sheep shearer. I find that people in rural settings tend to be a lot more mature about their relationships and tend to be a lot more mature about how they approach life. So when we do dance classes for the hockey players in, you know, wherever, up in Sioux Lookout, they're usually really open to it and going for it. You do that in Toronto and they just freeze.
It's taken us a while to sort of get integrated into Stouffville, and you know, not by anyone's intention, by no means, it's just the way it is. And part of that, again, was because we had nowhere to, there was no common place to meet or be. Our hope, going to the meetings with the town's council when they were looking at building their first theatre, you know, we wanted to do everything we could to support that process. We really believed it would be at the heart, a place for everyone to come. There would be sort of a unifying force.
But the idea is that art at some point has to have meaning, because ultimately a community is looking for ritual, they're looking for meaning, they're looking for some touchstone by which to judge themselves, judge the community, judge others. Certainly, you know, we have education and schools will supply that, we have religion and churches supply that, you know, and we have sports, you know, we have rinks and everything else. So our idea is that, well, get in contact with your culture, get in contact with your community, and then just communicate to that.
We were intrigued with this more of a small town mentality. So we put roots here, and I guess for 20 years there was really not a whole lot of opportunities to perform in this town. And we had the opportunity to help launch the center and the opening ceremonies. We did our show Carmina Burana. We had just finished touring England, so we closed the opening ceremonies with that show. And that was a thrilling moment, because people had heard for years that there was this professional company in town, but we were almost like this mysterious thing that, well, where are they?
You know, what's best to me, I've been in Stouffville for 30 odd years, is to see this location actually being used for events like this, to get the young in, to get the variety in, to get the theatre going is so exciting.
We really want to help and be a part of making sure that this facility it really gets established on a strong foundation, that we really help build an audience. And so I'm involved in working with the youth and, you know, drama programs in the summer. And
we've been here, well, this is our 20th year, and so we haven't really been centered or much of a core to the community. So we've had little branches and outreaches of people and connecting to our different artists and people within our community through the years, but it's been very slow. And it seems like the last couple of years, now that we've have at least a theater here to perform in, it seems like the interconnections are so much stronger, and I feel much more community development happening now. It seems like it's running fast forward almost the last year within Stouffville.
You know, I love the idea of what we do with the Christmas Carol in terms of connecting, because we open it up to local performers, really all in York region, not just Stouffville. And whoever wants to, from age 7 to 99, can come out and audition, and they do. And adding those extra 20 performers in the show is a wonderful thing for development, for, you know, offering a place of self-expression, for offering for people who might think, wow, would I ever want to do this as a career?
So you know what, you can keep that for a while, because we'll take you as Tiny Tim. Cool. Okay, and we'll take you Claire as...
I'd like to become a dancer, actor, kind of, and perform with MOTUS O.
And so, you know, our whole idea of being in Stouffville and the center now that's here is, I think, goes along with something that we've been doing for years, is that it's just that we're just simply presenting what is our view to the world, okay? Not in an egotistical way, telling them that this is what you need to believe. We don't have a political agenda to change your mind, okay, or a religious agenda to suddenly change your belief. What we do is we're presenting to inspire thought, response, communication.
You really feel like it's not just a performance on a stage, it's a performance to the people. It just, the energy just fills the whole room.
And some of the projects we're working with now where you know, we run a program in Banff twice a year that works with business leaders and helping them solve some of their leadership challenges through movement and their leadership development through dance. Because through movement, many times you can find a lot more clarity than just using your intellect. The body has a way of knowing that's different than the mind. And a lot of people have never experienced that, and every time we run that program, I'm just astounded at what people gain and learn from that.
We tour all over, and we've been touring for 20 years. We've been very popular amongst Canada. We get around in England as well. We do lots of different things too. You know, we work with cerebral palsy, we work with in Banff Centre, you know, we do workshops, you know. We do lots of different things. We perform children's shows, we perform adult shows, we do bawdy, adult dance stuff, you know, with Carmina Burana, and then we do things like Circus Terrifico, which is sort of a fun, silly, crazy children's show, you know. All of it, I think, has a central idea. The central idea is that we have an energy and we're using our art to communicate that energy. And it's true, it's the energy that people pick up. They don't get the intellectual arguments, at least in dance, but what they do is they get the energy and the feeling. So in the true sense of the word, it's spiritual, because it's connecting with something that people are unable to articulate, but if they work at it, when they articulate it, they go, that's it. And that's what we want to hit in this community here, is people to see something and go, and then articulate it and go, that's it.
Yeah, there's a lot of times you want to sort of throw in the towel, because sometimes it's way more work than the reward, or what you feel the reward is. And I'm usually talking, you know, getting, you know, a few weeks holidays a year, financial reward, those types of reward that we all look for in our jobs. And but yeah, it's really flourished. It's because we just keep hammering it and doing it.
And I can't get over the fact that, you know, these guys are my age, and I can't imagine myself whipping around being as creative and talented.
To now be celebrating our 20th anniversary, to me, is a total miracle. because I was wanting to exit stage left so many times. So it is a miracle. That's all I can say.
I think a hot button for all of us is that we see people transformed.
Yeah.
You know, people really touch, you know, kids feeling better about themselves, feeling better about their personalities, growing. And not only kids, but in Banff we see corporate executives. One guy just said, you know, after doing this course, I'm going to be a better father. So you go, oh, that's great. You know, so we hang on those type of transformations, and ultimately there's not much more that we can hope for, and what a wonderful thing we can give to the world, hopefully disposable as well.